Welcome back to Trekyards, everyone. He is Commander Cockings.
He's got Foley.
And today we're here to talk about Earth SPACEDOCK. A new one. The new one from Picard, Season 3.
You're missing the obvious jokes, Stuart. This is SPACEDOCK, the next generation.
Oh my goodness. There it is. You're not wrong.
Which, you know, unlike other episodes where they say, oh, this ship's a refit of the old ship. And then we see the old ship at the museum. So therefore it's not a refit. This ship isn't a refit, it is a fresh build, because where is the original one that was there from, like, TOS-ish to Nemesis-ish?
It's been either towed, dismantled, or warped to Athon Prime. We're not sure. We need to do a kind of a talk about that at some point, because it'd be interesting to know the methods they might have used to do that.
Which is under 20 minutes from Earth.
Yeah, it's time to get there and talk to people and get back is an hour. So
it's less, it's about, a light year. So, I mean, in fairness, if you're going to tractor beam something giant at warp, you wouldn't take it far, would you, really?
No. I need to look at a map. I haven't looked where Athon Prime is. I should probably do that.
Very, very close. Now, we have looked at this, so the trailer came out, these nice images. We're just going to compare and give our overall vibe, because we did get to see a decent amount of it. It was the same sort of stuff again and again, but it's a space dog. What can you do with it, really? Like, same. But anyway, here is it, Stuart, in a shot we don't often see. It's one of the later shots where we see it kind of actually by itself, without the fireworks, without the fanfare. Just, here it is. And in, I think, more of a relatable angle to the original SPACEDOCK, that kind of clean side. How do you feel now?
I absolutely love this design, I gotta say. I mean, you could say, I mean, if we hadn't seen the museum or the Athon Prime, I would think that this might be just the Earth SPACEDOCK that was, like, literally refitted and built upon.
And upscaled.
Well, yeah. Because if the Enterprise F can come out of those are big-ass doors.
Yes, the F is a giant Enterprise.
But no, it's really nice. I do like all the antenna on the bottom pointing down, which I never really noticed before. It's got the same stuff up top, which is fine, and different office complexes or something around the outside. Nice touch.
You can tell it's so wonderfully kit-bashed in terms of, we can't do too much to the design. Let's just move, shift, copy, paste shapes until it works. And then it works. It's like my brain assumes that each of those pods is actually the top pod, but it's been squished down. Same with the antennas, because why would you build, like, that feels like that. Okay, fine. I assume all the antennas are all identical on every part of every station, again, to save render. But that's fine, right? The aesthetic of it is so logical that those repeat elements, to me, assuming that's what they've done to save time, not a problem. I like it.
That's probably worth pointing out, too, that those actually probably aren't antenna, because they do have lights in them, and we do see in lower decks, we do see the Admiral Buonamigo's office, which is in one of those. So,
yes.
But still, that's very neat.
Antennas for the audience, but yes, they're all offices.
Yeah.
Because think about it, if that middle chunk is all hollow, which we pretty much know it is, I mean, the outer ring we do know, because the door is the size of the wall is the size of the door, like, that whole thing's hollow. Yes, there might be windows and rooms on the outer wall, but those aren't going to be necessarily very large spaces to do very many things. So the big tall elements, the antennas, are the giant skyscrapers where the work's done, which makes sense. And
even the lower section, it's not like the older SPACEDOCK had a globe at the bottom, which, as we saw, is actually where the Enterprise D was parked. That's where Hangar 12
the middle
was.
one. Yeah, the middle one.
Yeah. But this one doesn't have any more of that kind of thing going on. And Earth SPACEDOCK didn't originally have doors down there, I don't believe. So it was retrofitted when it became the museum.
Well, I never thought that space was hollow, personally, until it
Neither did I mean, it might not have been. They might have, when it was the museum, they might have fixed it. And
yeah, I assume. Now, do you think, then, is the implied design that each of those edge pods is now just another office, like a dedicated office, versus it all being one space? Because I doubt you could fit too many ships in those. I mean, you can kind of see doors, but I doubt they're for big ships. But are they more just like, we wanted to have one for Starfleet Intelligence, one for Starfleet Engineering, maybe? Is it subdividing it a bit?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, the Section 31 is cloaked, obviously, or painted black, probably on the other side. And the doors are probably big enough, honestly, for like Bold Connie refit or like a Oberth class, shuttles, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that works 100%.
Or even at a certain point, you assume civilian trading ships, because why wouldn't you have civilians come in?
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
The Federation's more than just Starfleet.
This would probably be the customs facility. If you're going to Earth, you have to stop here first and get checked and then beam down to Earth.
I mean, yeah, why not? But do you think those side pods are implying that those are sort of the width of Earth SpaceDock original? Like that's the scale jump?
I don't think so. I think your SpaceDock would be like twice the size of those, probably.
But think of how big the refit to the door is, and then the F to the door, and now think of the door.
Yeah, you're right, actually. I don't know if those doors are the size for a refit, but that's a good point.
It's less far off than you think, I think.
We need a scale comparison of a SpaceDock beside this thing, because I want to see that for sure.
It'll look like a little brother, honestly.
Oh yeah, probably.
I don't imagine the windows have been shrunk to the scale that would be appropriate. I kind of get the sense these are the same window sizing vibe as SpaceDock, but it's significantly bigger. But when you make them that small, I mean, you're looking at, even a 4K render, they might be 2 pixels tall. That's not good for a render engine. So I don't think this window scale is probably going to be perfect, but I mean, it's a space station. Like, I think we can let that go, right? The next shot is a much more close-up shot. There isn't that haze, so it's a lot clearer, and you can definitely see the windows. Windows. I'm not really impressed by the windowing.
Looks like something out of Star Wars, a Star Destroyer or something, honestly. Are those phaser strips I see, all those little lines? It's like short little phaser strips all over the place.
I wouldn't have said so, but...
you gotta think. Maybe. Every time you go up against a space station or whatever in a game, one of the Star Trek games, they're almost impossible to beat. And we saw how much of a pounding it was taking for its shielding anyway, but it only fired the occasional, there wasn't very many shots coming out of it, I don't think. They were all directed towards it. But I was just wondering where the phaser strips and weapons turrets are.
I feel like the scale would be very close, but But why wouldn't you put phaser strips on every inch of it, right? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you don't need the big long ones. The shorter ones are better because it's a lot more angles to cut, you cover, and yeah.
That's actually really interesting because also we associate these lines as things like on the Intrepid, they are structural lines. They're a spirit detail, and this they feel like a structural detail. But yeah, for the scale of a phaser strip, that's actually and big ones if the E is anything to go by there, or the Sovereign.
Actually, the pod closest to us here, it looks like right underneath the door, there is a long phaser strip, perhaps.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that looks very similar to a phaser strip detail. It really does.
Those would make sense to have them because they've even better firing arcs. Actually, God, weapons pods, yeah. And if each of those pods is self-contained with its own power supply, then rather than taking out main SpaceDock, you actually have 4 pods of unique weapon fire. That's great.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then if you can imagine if Defiance are still in the fleet, they're still working. If we know that there's a lot of danger out there right now, imagine if each of these pods has like a standby squadron of Defiance, 2 or 3, Earth defense. I mean, talk about going up a level, but if the whole thing's like, we need defense now, so we're gonna.
That's one thing I never considered. Actually, there had been ships probably docked in SpaceDock, which would have had people on them that got borgified, so they could be attacking from the inside.
Well, shit.
That would have been cool to see. I got to be honest. That would have been neat to see. Yeah.
Oi.
So,
yeah. But it's definitely a relatively simple model. I mean, looking at this, there is literally a lot going on with the lights, but there's also not a lot going on, you can kind of tell. But at this sort of scale, what can you see, right? Any detail would be whatever. Although you'd pointed out in many episodes, there is activity on top of all the pods. Tiny things. What do you think they are now you're seeing it?
Well, in the final shot, I assume they were work bees completing the repairs. It was only 1 year later, so. But, yeah, it was visible earlier on. Again, it could be civilian traffic, but that's a lot of traffic. That's a lot of small ships. I would just assume that they're like either cargo freighters, like very small ones, or shuttles or something like that. But again, it doesn't make sense to have them bunched the way they are, though.
I mean, it is relative, though, of course. In space, they could be 6 miles.
Yeah.
But they're definitely too big to be shuttles. You wouldn't see shuttles that scale. So they have to be bigger. Maybe runabout-ish, bigger than a runabout. But if each of these pods are civilian pods, I mean, maybe like the ones for commerce, ones for whatever. I don't know. You don't need it as detailed. You don't need it the extra animation detail. I'm not sure why they're there.
I love this shot too because it's got a Sovereign and a Nebula. You can see how they would fit easily through those doors.
Yes, you can.
Which, speaking of,
so these are the two close-ups, and you can kind of get a sense of a close-up and how the model holds up.
Yeah, and the size compared to the Enterprise F, which is large. And now here, some of those, the horizontal stripes seem painted on. They look almost like a purpley color, as opposed to being phaser strips.
Yeah, they're obviously glass because they're reflecting light, and the bottom underneath they're reflecting the explosion. I assume they're giant wraparound observation window things. I mean, this is Earth space dock. You'd have a lot of bars, restaurants, places to do things.
Promenade.
Ooh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's underneath, right below the doors, there is a actual legitimate ring, which again would make sense to be like a weapons thing, possibly,
or torpedoes with a so picture like torpedoes being loaded in via a chain that goes around the entire thing, a never-ending like magazine of ammo.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Not a good firing arc, but I mean, if the things are getting that close, you're a bit screwed. And also, would you want to fire a torpedo this far from the station and explode? You'd want to fire the phasers, right? So, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of detail on this when you actually stop to look at it. It's a very quick scene, unfortunately.
Not too quick, though. Not like Discovery. This thing does linger, but obviously your eye goes to the F. That's the big...
Yeah.
But we're ignoring the F. This is the opposite.
No.
The shot's there for.
But in this video we are, so we're seeing the details. I also like the spotlights along the top. That kind of like highlight how it looks. I think that's really nice.
And they're so old school 90s CG. That's just right out of the playbook, right? No, nice. But Stuart, of course, let's compare vibes. I mean, throw me your thoughts right away, Stuart, because this is such an iconic station, right?
Okay, well, they're more similar than I thought, honestly. Like that middle part, like I don't see any doors on it here. And on the old one, it kind of looks like there might be some doors that they're open.
Not of the doors that would allow for an Enterprise D. I mean, there are lots of rectangle cutouts which are implied to be shuttle doors, or shuttle hangar things, but nothing anywhere near the scale.
Yeah, it's a top. It's a spinning top, is what it is.
It's so elegant though. The old space dock.
It's such a great design.
And I love the choice of having the blue inner under ring, creating this fall off. There's such a life to it. I kind of do mine differently. I do my fan films a little bit differently, but no, I love how it looks. And in fact, it sounds a bit harsh, but the new one, to me, looks significantly less good in terms of rendering, because one is a physical miniature and a hero shot from Star Trek 6. Like, this is we're leaving it, like, it looks significantly better for what is a miniature versus a high-end CG model. That's not a complaint per se, it's just showing how good space effects were in old Trek, because that holds up extremely well and looks to me nicer. Yeah, no, it does look really good. I like the miniature. Is it because the new one's just more flat, perhaps? Not the other one's necessarily dynamic, but is it just more flat? Yeah, the old one has curves. On that middle part, it's got that nice curve to it, where the other one's just kind of like straight. I think it feels more organic, the older one. I also think as well, even though, and I didn't notice this early on, but the old one, the light hues, the internal colors, the blue is very vibrant. On the new one, your brain almost filters out the fact there's a sort of a light blue aqua, some spotlights, because it's the same color as Earth. So the whole thing just feels like a grey with a slightly blue tint, whereas it's missing that big, bold, dark blue area to kind of, for me anyway. I was going to compare the blue on the new one to the blue of Earth, but then I looked at the old one, and the blues are the same on the station and Earth as well. So, but I don't know what it is. I think the whole thing is kind of bathed in blue in the bottom, like the original model, whereas it fit just different lighting conditions. It's more in the sunlight, direct sunlight for the new one, maybe. But it definitely, I mean, a logical, that's not evolution, but step, right? I can see the direct line. It's great. And of course, Stuart, the doors, the famous doors. The doors. Yeah, now you know, this is the SPACEDOCK 2.0, because it's got two stripes instead of just one stripe. See?
That's the difference. Yeah, I still love that shot from Star Trek 3. That is so beautiful.
But what's fascinating is that they haven't even tried to break the mold. I'm commending them for that. Oh look, the same small door window things that we talked about a second ago on the same rough place. Like you say, there's a painted red black line. They've not thought too much about it. They've taken the details and remodified them as they should. But I kind of see the old door as now if they just made the outer rim of the door frame, just extend it one batch out. It's almost the exact same percentage of the structure.
Well, ironically, though, with the old one, if you notice where the doors actually open and slide into the body, there's no windows there. The new one, there must be thicker walls because there's windows like where the doors would be sliding behind. Small little detail, but...
well, I mean, there could be little broom closets to look out.
Yeah, that's the janitor's closet. That's where they store the brooms.
It's very noisy, though.
Oh God, they're launching the ship. Ah! Yeah.
Yeah. Noise-cancelling headphones every 6 p.m. when the ship launches.
Yeah.
Because could that be silent? Really, that level of motion, right?
In the future, yes.
Okay.
Because in space, no one hears the doors open. I guess.
On that note, Stuart, really good. I really hope we see it again. I hope we see more shots. I hope we see the inside. I hope it. I mean, it's great. I hope we see more.
Notify yourself with the notification bell icon so you know when we're doing a live or, you know, doing edited videos like this, because we love doing this kind of stuff and we're going to keep doing it. So if you want to be part of our fleet and maybe have this as a hero model at some point, it could be part of the Trekyards fleet. Maybe. And you could be commanding it. How could they do that, Samuel?
Monthly. That's the simple answer. But that doesn't tell you anything, does it really? There are two ways. There's a Patreon. You go on Patreon and you search Trekyards and you find us, and then you look and you read and you donate monthly. Or you say, YouTube is the way. And then you go and you find the join button. It's right there. And then you look at the perks and you pick one and boom. That's monthly. You're in the fleet. You're on a ship. You're a part of the community. Or if you don't go monthly, that's all good. You can be single donations either at PayPal, trekyards@hotmail.com, whatever you want, however often you want. Say hi, or super chatting on any of our lives. It's super flexible, any amount. Even like if you have a European currency, you can do like 30 cents, you know, because the conversion rate, we've had those jokes occasionally. Or super thanks things on any single video in our many year run on Trekyards. And we thank you in advance for any and all help you can deliver, because it all makes a big difference. And thank you!
That's right. So until next time, ESPN Cockings.
Exactly.
We are Trekyards.
Bye, guys.